Overall metabolic health in the United States is at an absolute low, and what we see is it continues to drop lower and lower. With this, the obesity rates continue to skyrocket, as well as the fact of heart attacks, heart disease, strokes, and many other ailments that continue to plague people from being unhealthy continue to rise. Along with this, we see the fact that our allegiance to the food pyramid has grown ever stronger, and I would argue the things that we're being told and the narratives we've been distributed about what is best for us and how to orient ourselves to be the healthiest individuals we can was not true. I know the expert class that tell us everything we need to know about our health, the fact that they would lie to us would be unbelievable. It's not like we had anything to prove that that was the case over the last 3 years. No. Let's go ahead and jump into this video talking about beef consumption and overall metabolic health. New study shows 12% of Americans, mostly men, are eating half of our beef supply. Well, here's the deal. It's me. I'm mostly men. So, the study only looked at food consumption over 24 hours, which does not give information on how total meat consumption is distributed. For example, if everyone ate meat once per week, just look at how one day would show 14% of people eating 100% of the meat. And here's the deal. You can relatively guess what people are eating based on their consistent hauls from the grocery store. Like for me, example, I am certainly one of the people eating 12% of all the beef in America, considering my diet quite literally consists of basically just steak and eggs. Steak, eggs, butter. That's my diet. Seriously, that's it. Moving on, we have this video from Seed Oil Disrespecter, and if there's anything you should disrespect in the modern day when it comes to your food, you should be looking at your ingredients to make sure that there's no seed oils in it. Let's go ahead and jump into this video so you can understand the process of how this is all extracted and the fact that nothing truly goes to waste. While I am an avid capitalist, this is what happens when the systems of capitalism are driven to the fullest extent because they're trying to make profit at every single turn without losing any of the value of the resources that they could be throwing away. Let's go ahead and jump in.
A conveyor then feeds the flakes into a screw press. It has a large revolving screw-shaped shaft enclosed within a slotted cage. As the shaft turns, its threads squeeze the flakes with high pressure, forcing out the oil, which then drains out through the slots. 42% of canola seed is oil. This screw press extracts nearly 3/4 of that. The remainder is still trapped in the pressed flakes, now referred to as canola cake. The cake exits the other end of the press and moves on to a second extraction. This one, a 70-minute wash with a solvent. This chemical extraction process removes all but a trace of oil. The factory then grinds the cake into protein-rich meal, which it sells as animal feed. The extracted oil, stored in large tanks, now enters the refining phase. First, they wash the oil for 20 minutes with sodium hydroxide. During this wash cycle, they spin the oil at high speed so that the centrifugal force separates the natural impurities, which the factory later sells to soap manufacturers. After this cleaning process, the canola oil is visibly clearer. However, it still contains natural waxes, which make it look cloudy. So the next step is to cool the oil to 5 degrees Celsius. This thickens those waxes so they can be filtered out. The waxes don't go to waste either. The factory uses them to produce vegetable shortening.
After watching that video, can you honestly say that you can tell me that you believe it's healthy to be consuming the byproducts that come from that process? Seriously, can you? I'd say no. When the fact is they hyper compress the flakes to extract the oil, and then they heat it to expand the flakes and then compress it again, turning it into that cake that we saw, and they call this cake canola cake, which they then ship off to farmers. These farmers then using it as nothing more than what they call nutrient-dense animal feed, which it is anything but nutrient-dense. So this is something that the food that you're buying in many of the farmers markets and the stores that you're going to buy your food at, like the grocery stores, the pigs and the cows are eating stuff like this meal that's made from canola cake. And that is incredibly unhealthy for the animals, just like it's going to be incredibly unhealthy for you. Well, don't you worry. They've already extracted that oil, and now they have to deodorize it and then put multiple chemicals in it to clean it and filter it out and make it look cleaner. And then so they can make it stop smelling, they have to deodorize it again. After deodorizing it, what they will do is they will then supercool it. because what they have to do is they see that there's these impurities in there, and those impurities, well, that's wax. So what we have to do is extract that wax so we can clean the oil and then make it clearer. And then after it's clear and we've extracted that wax, we have canola oil. But here's the deal. Don't you worry, that wax isn't going to go to waste. What that wax will then be used as is vegetable shortening. Vegetable shortening, I don't know if you know, is Crisco. If you have any of this stuff in your kitchen, please get rid of it. Canola oil, any of that stuff, canola oil, Crisco, rapeseed oil, soybean oil, get rid of all of it. It's not worth having. It's genuinely incredibly unhealthy. And a lot of people that talk about the problems with seed oils, which is a lot of people online, you don't really see this discourse going anywhere but online, especially on Twitter. A lot of the people I talk to understand that this is an issue. But here's the deal. A lot of times people are saying that this is the main thing that's causing people to get fat. And it could be a major contributing factor, but much like many things when we have to approach an analysis, it has to be a multivariate analysis. And with this comes the fact that we are eating corn products in mass, and corn products are far denser when it comes to their glucose levels, which means they contain more sugar, which means that they can contain more calories in the end. So that's a major factor. But on top of that, people want to act like it's just the seed oils. Acting like it's just the seed oils sidesteps the fact of caloric intake. And the fact is that roughly 2,200 calories is your maintenance calories. And if you're going over that, then you're going to be gaining weight slowly. And what we see is people have completely stopped paying attention to any form of calorie intake, and they just eat in mass, and that is what has led to the major obesity epidemic that has graced the shores of the United States. We are undoubtedly the fattest country in the world. It used to be that if you were incredibly fat, it was a sign of royalty, and now it's a sign that you need to get your fucking fat ass off the couch. Okay, where's the beef? In America, it's getting scarfed up by a small minority of people. A new study reveals that 50% of beef consumed in any given day just goes to show 12% of the US population eats 50% of the beef. And this heavy consumption of beef has a significant health impact on those Americans who are eating half of our steak, meatballs, wieners, and hamburgers. Current U.S. Department of Agriculture guidelines suggest eating 4 ounces per day of meat, poultry, and eggs for those consuming 2,200 calories per day. Okay, they put the calorie regimen, but the study reveals some Americans are far exceeding that amount. The USDA reports Americans overall consume a whopping 30 billion pounds of beef in 2021, which equals almost 60 pounds per year, or 60 pounds per person per year. And that's rookie numbers. We need to absolutely ramp that up exponentially. So here's the deal. It talks about the fact that the study reveals some Americans are far exceeding that amount. It's not talking about the fact that Americans are exceeding their calorie quotient. No. You're eating more than 4 ounces of meat, dairy, poultry, and eggs. Don't you understand that that's dangerous for your health? So here's the deal. The food pyramid is an absolute lie. I was incredibly sick for years, and I had metabolic issues in my stomach. I would wake up every single morning, roughly 4 to 6 a.m., and I would puke my guts out. And it was because the lining of my stomach was being eaten away. I was incredibly ill for a long time, and only after turning away from the advice of the so-called expert class was I able to conquer this illness and become far better than I had ever been. And now I'm in the best shape I've ever been, and I have more energy than I've ever been, and I need to sleep less, and I undoubtedly feel better than I've ever felt. And it's because I stopped listening to what these people have to say. So, the researchers were surprised such a small percentage of people consume such an outsized proportion of beef. A study authored Dr. Diego Rose, nutrition programmer director of the Tulane University School of Public Health and Tropical Medicine, said in a news release. We focused on beef because of its environmental impact and because it is high in saturated fat, which is not good for your health. Natural animal fats are good for your health. It's how we have evolved for millions of years, was consuming animal fats. And all of a sudden, with the flip of a script, they're saying, no, don't you do that. You need to stop eating high animal fats. It's incredibly bad for your diet. Now, go ahead. Don't you worry. Go eat this vegan ecto soy latte burger that we just made that we can patent every single ingredient in. But don't you go eat that thing that's just made of beef. Indeed, an overwhelming number of studies find that consuming red and processed meats can contribute to heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and premature death. So I wanted to read that, and then I will get to the next point. I got my blood work done roughly 6 months ago, and my levels were all nominal. The doctor was asking me what I did for my diet, and I explained, and she looked at me like I was insane. I will go back. I will get my levels taken again, and I will get my blood work done, and I will compare it to some of these incredibly morbidly obese people that operate under the standards of what the food pyramid tells them, and we will go ahead and see who has better levels. Let's go ahead. I'm down. Who wants me to do that? Because I will gladly do so. Moving on, we're talking about the fact of the expert class and how they're the ones that know what we need to do with our health. This is the U.S. Minister of Health, Rachel Levine. This fat, disgusting, obese ogre, and I don't care that this person's trans, do not take any bit of a moniker of acting like this is because, oh no, it's a trans person. I don't give a fuck. That doesn't matter to me at all. What I care is we have a morbidly obese person who is clearly not healthy being the Assistant Secretary for Health in the United States. I don't give a fuck if you're trans. I don't care what you fuck. I care that you're trying to tell me what to do when you yourself clearly have absolutely no idea. Moving on, we see only 12% of American adults are metabolically healthy, study finds. Oh, what's that? Only 12% of Americans are metabolically healthy? Well, it turns out just 12% of Americans, mostly men, are eating half of our beef. Isn't that just fascinating? Metabolic syndrome, risk factors, diagnosis, and more. What is metabolic syndrome? Metabolic syndrome is a group of 5 risk factors when left untreated increase the likelihood of developing heart disease, diabetes, and strokes. It may also be called syndrome X or insulin resistance syndrome. The 5 risk factors are high blood pressure, including taking medicine to lower your blood pressure, high blood sugar levels, insulin resistance, or taking medication to lower your blood sugar, excess fat around the waist, high triglyceride levels, or taking medicine to lower your levels, low levels of good cholesterol or HDL, or taking medicine to manage low HDL. And like I said, if you are eating animal fats to get your cholesterol in, then you're going to be just fine. And there was actually a bodybuilder by the name of Vince Gironda. During the time before anabolic steroids were created, he was trying to figure out how to get an edge and how to consistently grow and gain more muscle. And there's something amongst the bodybuilding community called the lean bulk, and a lot of people do so by consuming large portions of eggs, and they do so because of the man who was Vince Gironda. Once Vince Gironda realized was burn victims before the creation of anabolic steroids were given a large portions of eggs for their diet. Large quantities, 36 eggs a day, mostly raw, some cooked, and it was because the cholesterol within the eggs gave them an anabolic effect that helped them heal faster. And he wondered if this anabolic effect would help him recover faster as well as grow his muscles more. And it turned out that it came out to be true. But there need to be more studies on this, and I would love to genuinely read some in-depth research on this that's done by professional health scientists today, but take that with a grain of salt. But nonetheless, we do see this consistently working for so many people throughout the bodybuilding community, and these people also get their levels tested and they end up coming out nominal, much akin to how mine were. So what we see is the obesity statistics. Let's go ahead and jump in. It says currently affecting 4 out of 10 Americans. What we see is the CDC said the weight and overall health of all people are always connected. Obesity is often considered a cause for multiple comorbid chronic medical conditions, including type 2 diabetes, some forms of cancer, and heart disease. Digging into the statistics about obesity in the U.S. can help paint a picture of why rates continue to climb, as well as what we continue to do to slow down and reverse these trends. And I don't think they realistically care about reversing these trends. I don't think they care about what's right for you and what's best for your health. Because if that was the case, they wouldn't have lied consistently through 2 years of lockdowns to propagate nothing more than a narrative to assist the establishment in grabbing more control. Moving on, we see scientists call for obesity to be renamed to improve treatment. All right, how would we be improving the treatment if we were to rename obesity? Well, it turns out we're not actually trying to improve treatment. What we're trying to do is make sure that people can stop being shamed for being such fat fucks. Researchers call for obesity to be renamed to avoid shaming people. And I fundamentally disagree. Fat people should be shamed. You shouldn't be shamed because you're a bad person, because you're not. Fat people aren't bad people. Plenty of people that are the most jolly, lovely, wonderful human beings you'll ever interact with on the planet are fat. And that's just fine. But what they can be is a better, healthier version of themselves so they can live a longer and more dutiful life for the people that they love to live for. And here's the deal. This is the message that needs to be pushed. And that's why fat shaming needs to be pushed. Not because, oh, it's disgusting, you're a fat fuck, you need to be bullied, which you should be shamed for being fat. But it's not because the fact that, oh, look at you, you're fat. It's because you can live a far more dutiful life with a greater purpose, with much more longevity, if you are just to take control of your health. That's all I've got for this. I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. Thank you for watching if you got this far. I really appreciated it. If anyone out there is fat and watching this, no, you're not hated because you're big. It's just the fact that you can simply be a better version than the person you are now. And you know it, I know it, and so does everyone you love. Thank you for watching. Thumbs up if you liked it. Thumbs down if you didn't. Tell me where I'm wrong in the comment section down below. Stay lovely. Stay great. Peace out.